Okay, all right. Welcome everyone. My name is Sia Knight, and I am so thrilled to have you here for the new notary workshop. This workshop, as you know, because you signed up for it, is to help newer notaries kind of get off on the right foot. Maybe you have gotten your commission, but you just, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I'm scared. I don't know how to approach people. So, all of that we'll talk about during this particular workshop. So, I'm going to start by sharing my presentation. Okay, you all can see where it says new notary workshop. Thumbs up.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
very
Yes.
good. All right. So, here, let me see. Okay, so we're going to start off. We'll start off with introductions just because, I think manners, that's what we do. We'll talk about your business setup. We'll talk about identifying the perfect market, pricing, even though, and that's always a touchy subject. Um, I will talk about remote online notary. Notarizations or becoming a RON. It depends on kind of if it's available in your state. And then I am going to be here the remainder of the time. We'll talk questions and answers. I am here, and that's kind of really part of the real appeals that you get to kind of bounce information and ideas off of someone who's been doing it for a few years now, and also from your classmates as well. So let's this is where I said I have a slide that talks about this being recorded in case I had forgotten to hit record. I would hit it right now, but we're going to record this class. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Sia Knight, as you can read. I had been in education about 20 years. I've been a teacher, a counselor, an administrator. So I've run the whole gamut in education, but I always kept a side hustle or a side gig or whatever you want to call it. Some people don't like the term hustle, but I always kept something going on the side. I used to do kind of like the DoorDash, the Instacart. I used to do all that stuff because that's just what I do. So I was watching YouTube. You guys might be familiar with YouTube. And then there was a man who talked about being a loan signing agent. I said, oh, and then you can make millions of dollars a second by being a loan signing agent. I said, I like to make millions of dollars. So let me look into this. So I looked into it. Um, and I figured out the first step was to become a notary to get my commission. And so I did that. And then I went through the process and the steps to become a loan signing agent. I became a loan signing agent. I did some loan signings, a good number of loan signings. Decided that don't like really doing the loan signings as much as general notary work. And that's where my heart and my soul is. So I decided what I was going to do was I was going to kind of focus on general notary work. And it's done well for me. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the in-person work, and I also enjoy being a Ron. So, and it does generate some good side income, and there are some people who are doing it full time as well. So that's who I am, and that's how I got to the notary uh, kind of world. So now I'm going to give you all a chance to introduce yourselves. So and talk to us a little bit about kind of what brought you here. Um, you're going to talk about tell us your name, what state you're in, because one thing you'll know is that the notary business is very state specific, right? So the rules, the regulations, the guidelines are depend on your state. So, and talk to me about what interests you about being a notary, about notarizing. If you're a notary, how long have you been a notary? Are you still in the investigation phase? Are you've gotten your commission and you're just scared to get started? Talk to us about that. And we'll start. Diane, start us off, please.
Okay, well, my name is Diane Shears. I actually heard about this like a long time ago when I was living in New York, but there was no information on how to get started. So I just kind of just left it alone. Then now fast forward to 2020 when COVID happened, and I'm like, now I'm looking for side hustles and side gigs. And then I ran across Mark Wells and I was like, oh my God, this might be it. And so then I did my commission, did everything and all that stuff. So then I never did do the general notary. I jumped right into the loan signing because I felt, okay, that's where I had the training from. And then now fast forward, I'm recovering from COVID and these jobs, man, it's rough trying to get time off and get healthy and stay healthy with these jobs and everything. And I was like, nope, I got to do this. And then of course I always watch your videos. See, I've been watching you for a long time. And then I said, oh, because you had, when I was going to do it, then the workshops had stopped. I was like, oh, dang, I missed it. And then I looked, she got another workshop. I said, I'm not missing this one.
Yes, the workshops are back.
Like, yep, that's right. I said, this is it. I said, I gotta get on that notarized platform. I gotta get on some platform, and I gotta be doing this thing from home because it's rough out here in these streets, honey.
Okay. And what state are you in, Diane?
I'm in Virginia.
Oh, yes, that's right. I was like, geez, in Virginia like me. What part?
I'm in Powhatan.
The Richmond area. Okay. Yes, I remember that when your registration came through. So very good. Yay. Welcome. All righty. Thank you. Deborah, let's have you go next. Tell us about you and your notary journey.
Okay, well, good morning again to everybody. I'm Deborah. I'm in the state of Maryland. I am commissioned. I am certified. I am licensed. Woo-hoo. However, I feel like I don't know enough to get out there. So even though I've been through training, I've had a couple of training sessions. It's just not, I don't know. I don't think I know enough. So now I'm in the process of learning documents, learning the rules of the state of Maryland. And to be quite honest with you, my ultimate goal is to do remote online. But with the state of Maryland, there's really not much, just to be honest, there's really not much financial gain that you can get from it because of the limitations of how much the state will allow you to charge per Notary Act. So I am interested in remote online. So I'm figuring, well, maybe I can do that from home. I can do a little bit of loan signing from home. But ultimately, that's my goal, to do the loan signing from home, because I don't like being out in the streets just like Diane. But my interest is just to keep myself financially flexible, if you will.
Absolutely.
Just financially flexible. I mean, you know how life happens, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't want to spend my money for that, but you need to have like some side money. You need to have other income streams coming in, that kind of thing. And I've never been one to just want to sit anyway. I've been retired for a minute and I'm like, no. So I've been on a journey, been going to school, taking some classes, and I'm trying to see where I may fit in this notary thing here. So I don't know. So that's my story. It's kind of short right now, but I have a lot of questions for you, Sia. Oh, and by the way, I saw you on YouTube. So like Diane, I was like, oh my God, I missed the workshop. So when you had another one, I said, I'm gonna sign up for this myself.
Oh, yay. Well, welcome. I'm so glad. I will tell y'all before Carrie introduced herself. I did these workshops once a month, every month. And then I also had a mastermind going as well as my full-time job. I was like, this is too much. So that's like towards the end of the year, I said, I'm go ahead and take a break and regroup. So, but now I'm back and refreshed, ready for the new notary workshop. This is one of my favorite things. So, okay. Now, last but not least, here on the call, Carrie.
Hi, good morning. I'll turn my video on and please excuse my appearance.
We are not judging. And
Oh, there we go.
Hey.
And my
Okay.
cat. I worked from home this morning, so I usually work in a sweatshirt. So I'm from Massachusetts and I got commissioned, I believe it was maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and I haven't done anything with it. I work from home typically as a telehealth nurse, Monday through Friday. So I was looking for something to do to supplement my income. And then my goal ultimately is to transition from what I'm doing, telehealth nurse, to mobile notary. So that's where I'd like to see, because I like the flexibility. I want to work for myself, you know, and I just want that schedule as opposed to a Monday through Friday schedule. So I am brand new, learning, heard of all of this during COVID. And so I have a few people on YouTube that I've been watching, and you're one of them. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. I'm still trying to learn what each document really means, when to use them. I'm in the very beginning stages. Like, how do I know when to give an oath? How do I know when to use a jurat as opposed to acknowledgement? Those kind of things. So it's all brand new. Even though I'm watching videos and trying to learn, I think I need a lot more education on what I'm doing. So that's where I'm at. Still new.
Yay. Well, welcome all of you here, because I love to hear kind of what your expectations are, because then in my mind I'm like, yes, check. We're going to talk about all of that. Bam, we're going to talk about that as well. So it's so exciting. So I'm so glad to be back and doing the workshop. So, and it's so interesting when I hear people say, I watched your videos, because like, and I see the views and I guess somebody's watching them, but I'm like, really? People are watching the videos. That's good. That's just, it still fascinates me when I hear people say that. So thank you. All right. Now, this is going to be the class participation portion. Actually, no, there's gonna be a lot of class participation. So let me stop telling that story. This is not the only portion, but here's a question that I'm asking, and you all, someone yell out if you know the answer. What is the what's the main job of a notary?
To witness the signature.
Okay. Anyone else?
To make sure that the document that's being notarized is actually true.
Yes, I was going to say the same. Confirmation of what's being done is truthful.
So all three of you all talked about aspects of parts of what we do as notary, but the main job and the reason why we exist as notaries is to aid in fraud detection. That is the reason why notaries exist. It's, because, I explain to my children, because I have kids, I have teenagers. They're like, well, what do you do as a notary? And you kind of talk about, well, I help to make documents official. I help to verify identity, that sort of thing. But the bottom line, the reason why people want something notarized is because they want to prevent fraud. So that's one reason why people talk about kind of technology being different and taking over, and different jobs being obsolete, etc. But there's nothing like having our real eyeballs kind of taking a look at someone's ID or someone's signature. And so all of that, everything that you all talked about, it's kind of part of the job of being a notary, kind of to verify signatures, to kind of depends on if you are doing an affidavit, to have them swear to the truthfulness of it, etc. But why are we doing this? To try to prevent fraud. And that is an interesting part, that when I started to think about that in all ways that I move as a notary, that kind of influences what I do and the decisions that I make. Because sometimes you'll get into some interesting situations and some interesting predicaments in which you have to kind of discern, should I move forward with this or should I not? And then I have to say to myself, is there a chance that this is some type of scam or fraud or whatever? And if things don't seem right to me, I won't do it. I won't do it. Mm-mm. So that's just kind of a question. So name 3 types of notarial acts. Name a type of an, and you all said some of them earlier. So give me a type of a notarial act.
Acknowledgement,
Mm-hmm.
a verification of oath on affirmation. Is that what they called it?
Mm-hmm.
Jurat, which is a verification on oath or an affirmation.
Mm-hmm. You've been
And-
studying. I see you've been studying some real materials there.
I'm trying to study. I'm trying to
Yes.
learn so I can have confidence when I get out here.
Absolutely.
What is the other one? Yes, copies of certificates.
Right. So copy certification, which is allowed in some states and some states not allowed. But the 3 that we're going to talk about today are, we're going to talk about acknowledgements, a jurat, also known as affidavits, okay, and an oath or an affirmation. Okay. So the purpose of an acknowledgement essentially is that you are verifying a signer's identity, and you can say they are who they say they are. You look at the license, you look at them. It looks like, even though they might look a little older, no more haggard than they did back when they took the picture 12 years ago. But you verify it's them. Okay. And that's all you are really doing with an acknowledgement. Okay. A jurat, okay, is when a person in writing kind of, or affidavit, swears to the truthfulness, okay, of the contents of the document. Okay. So that's what an affidavit or jurat is. The third thing that we do is an oath or an affirmation. So let's talk about these 3 things. Okay. As an acknowledgement is the kind of the basic one, right? You're like looking at their license, their military ID, you're looking at it, so, and then they sign and you're good to go. Okay. And affidavits, again, very similar, or jurats, very similar, but they are attesting or swearing in writing that this is the truthfulness to that, and you're witnessing that. Okay. Then the last thing is, one time I got called to a client's house as a mobile notary. They said, listen, I have to testify in court over the phone. This is before COVID. This is before all that. So it was just, it's like, oh, interesting. So she had to testify in a court case. She needed a notary to come to her house to swear her in. So I got on the phone, I guess a speakerphone. I'll say, oh yeah, is the notary there? Yes, I'm here. Okay, so can you please swear in the witness? Okay. Do you solemnly swear under penalty of perjury that all information that you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief? I do. I do. Okay, thank you. Then she started to testify. I creeped out. That was it. Okay. There was another time that I had to administer an oath for a gentleman who was, I think it was something about the bar, or it was something for him. He was going to practice law. So I had to administer an oath. And in that particular case, they had the script right there, what I was to say in order to kind of swear him in. Okay. Yes, Carrie.
On those two incidents, did you have to verify their ID? Did they have to
Yes.
present? Okay, so you do
That was my
that with
question.
the oath. Oh,
Yes, you always want to do that. You always have to do that. Okay. Again, the general job is, yes, I had to go and swear in, but I had to, as the notary, verify that they are who they say they are, and they are swearing that what they're saying is true. So it's always, you always have to verify the ID, always.
and does that go in your journal?
So in Virginia, it does go in your journal if you keep one. In Virginia, it is not required. Now, it's advisable that you keep a journal, but it's not required in Virginia. So check on your state to see whether or not it is a requirement to keep a journal. I just advise everyone to keep one, because I can't tell you how many times that it's just helpful. Sometimes somebody's like, hey, I'd like for you to come back out. You notarized a document for me in June. Can you come back out again? I'm like, oh, Mr. Smith, I see are you still on 8th Avenue? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'll be right out. That just, gives you a little bit more of a polish too. Along with later on, if something happens, they'll be like, hey, Mr. Smith, if we think that something happened with Mr. Smith, did you notarize this document? I said, yes, I did, June 7th, 2021. Okay. So that is definitely something that you want to keep in your journal. Okay. All right. Any questions about acknowledgements, jurats, or oaths?
And then we have a question. For all three types of these documents, you do have to have the signer verbally say something back to you, right?
So in some states, now that's very interesting. And the first thing I talked about was the fact that everything is very state specific when it comes to notarizations, right? So I had some ladies in my mastermind class who were from Texas. And evidently in Texas, there's a whole thing, and you have to ask the person whether they want an acknowledgement or a jurat. It's a very interesting little situation or case. I'm not sure about Maryland, whether or not you have to verbally kind of ask them which kind of notarial certificate they want, which to me doesn't sound.
No, we don't, well, the rules say we don't ask, but we can find ways to inform the signer, but they have to give us a verbal response as to, yes, I acknowledge that this is my signature, or yes, I acknowledge that the contents are true in this document, that kind of thing.
Right. Yes. And so it's interesting because you talk about, do you know if Notarize is in Maryland now? Notarize the
online
company.
Mhm. I don't know that for sure.
I don't know if they are, but Notarize, hopefully they're coming to your state, because I love working with Notarize. They are good about having state specific scripts in terms of to make sure that each state, that the language that you need to use for your state, that you're covered with everything that your particular state requires. Okay. So, all right. Any other questions?
Well, one quick one. Are jurats always affidavits? That kind of confuses me, but I'll just look at whatever the language says for the notary, but I'm still not real clear between.
Yeah, I think it's just the terms are interchangeable.
Okay.
So sometimes you'll see it's something about the affiant, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, what affiant? So I'm more familiar with the term affidavit. I'm like, okay, I heard and I knew what that was, but jurat, that threw me off for a while. But it's interchangeable.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Here is a sample acknowledgement, okay, from the Commonwealth of Virginia. So Diane, this is gonna should look familiar to you. So there are different things that each state requires that you have to have on a certificate in order for it to be legal. Uh-oh. Let's see. Sorry, my computer did something crazy. Okay. So you all can still see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So here in
Yes.
in Virginia, so you have to have, in most forms, okay, it'll say state of, okay. So state of, here it's Commonwealth of, because we're a Commonwealth. County of, you put the county, okay. In fact, Diane, since you're a Virginian, you're going to help me fill out this acknowledgement, okay? Because, and I want you to tell me what goes in these different spots, okay? The foregoing instrument was acknowledged before me this blank. Let's say it was, so what would you put?
Okay, so let me see, what's today, the 21st? So
22nd.
it'd be before,
22nd.
okay, so before me, this 22nd day of January, and then 2021 by,
22.
oh yeah, that's right, 22.
I know.
I know. And then it would say by the person, the signer.
Okay, very good. Okay, and then?
And then then I would sign it. And then I would put my registration number when my commission expires, and then I would put my seal.
Boom, you'd stamp it. Correct. Okay. So those are the elements for a Virginia acknowledgement. I'm going to give you a sample, and you guys are going to actually look up what your state certificates look like as well. But here's an example of a jurat for Virginia. Okay. Miss Deborah, help walk me through this. Even though you are in Maryland, you should get used to different general certificates and kind of what goes in each blank. Okay. So let's say it's the state of Maryland instead of Commonwealth of Virginia. County of, where are you located?
County of Prince George's.
Okay. All right. The foregoing instrument was subscribed and sworn before me this.
Okay. Am I going to actually go through the swearing in, or you just want me to just do the certificate?
Just do the certificate for now.
Okay. For the County of Prince George's, the foregoing instrument was subscribed and sworn to me before me on this 22nd day of January 2022 by the signer. Okay, and then the signer signs on that line.
Is that
the signature of person taking the acknowledgement? I don't know.
Nope, that's us. That's
Oh,
us.
that's me. Anything doesn't say notary, I'm
right.
to it. Okay.
And that's why I like to show everyone these forms, because the forms sometimes they'll be slightly different and slightly the wording's a little bit different, but that's why we go through this. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, reading it, the signature person taking in my, okay. All right. So I put in my name as a notary. In Maryland, we don't have a title or rank, or should I just put notary here?
So sometimes
Deborah,
we put notary public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deborah Lorick, notary public. We don't have a serial number. And we don't have a registration number in Maryland either.
Right. In Virginia, we have a registration number. We don't have a serial number. I don't know. I haven't met anybody from any state. I don't know who has a serial number and how a serial number would be different than a registration number. But in Virginia, it's a registration number. So, all right. So very good, Ms. Deborah. Now, Who wants to take an oath? Miss Carrie, I'll have you take this oath. All right.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay. No, this is
Oh,
easy because
we're gonna-
I'm going to administer it.
Perfect.
And I have actually a script that I use. If you can find a script, you can print it out. I've got mine laminated. And if I need and have it in my my notary stuff, right, with me in my clipboard. Okay. So can you please raise your right hand and respond with either I swear or I affirm? Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that any statement made by you under oath in this document is true and correct to the best of your knowledge or belief?
I affirm.
Okay, thank you. That's it. That's it. Sometimes I've heard notaries, they get very they get very nervous about administering oaths. It's okay. It's nothing to it. Now, when I do them online, people get a little taken aback. They're like, they're like that. I'm saying, no, yeah, this is serious business. So they're like, oh, okay. And it lets people know that they are swearing to the truthfulness of the particular.
Question on that.
Yes.
I know that there's two different types of oaths, one, the one you just stated, and then there's the other one where higher power. Like, do you swear to tell the truth, so help you God type of thing? I think there was two different ones that I saw. Is there one that's best just to use, or does it matter either one, or the one that you use probably be more appropriate?
So I would say in 2022, the one that I use that says you can swear or affirm, because some people, due to religious beliefs, are like, what you got me in here swearing? They just that it does not align with their values. So I've heard the other one, so help me God, and that sort of thing. But I think you would be safer, and so as not to offend, if you use something, you give them either the option to swear or affirm. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay. All right. Moving right along. Okay, now, here's the test for you ladies. No matter what state you're in, there are there's a high chance that you will see a form like this. Okay. I notarize lots of these different companies, but this form is very, very common. Okay. And what I'm going to give you time to do is take a look at this form, and then I'm going to have you tell me what goes in these particular blanks. I do lots of these in person. I do them online on Notarize, the platform that I use. This is a very common form. So this is worth the price of admission right here, because this form can be tricky. But I want you, has anyone notarized this form before? First, let me ask you that.
No.
I have not.
Okay.
No.
All
no.
right. Okay, this is going to be fun. Okay, so Mary Smith has called you. She works at the local university, and she is a 401k. She's going to borrow some money. Okay. Her husband is Sam. Okay. Mary has called you. Ring, ring. Sia Knight, Deborah, Diane, Carrie. I would like for you to come over to notarize this document for me. Okay. What are the exact steps that you need to take to complete the transaction? Let's start with the phone call. Let's start there. Okay. Before we even look at this form. Okay. Ring, ring. I'm going to be Mary Smith, and I'm going to call Diane.
Oh, Sia.
I'm calling Diane. Hello. What's the name of your business, Miss Diane?
I haven't set it up as a business as of
Okay.
yet.
All right. Diane's
Okay.
notary business. Okay. Hi. Yes, I understand that you're a notary. I need to have a form notarized. My name is Mary Smith.
All right. And what type of form do you need to have notarized?
So it is a form. It's called a spouse's waiver. I'm getting some money out, a withdrawal. So um, I know it requires a notarization. So do you have some time? Can you come out and notarize this document? Let's pretend like you're going to go out there, Miss Diane. I know you don't.
All right. Okay, well, sure. I'll be able to come out, but I just wanted to let you know you will need at least 2 pieces of ID, and I'll need to be able to make a copy of that. Would that be okay? Or are you able to make copies of it?
Copy of ID? Why do you need a copy of my ID? Can't you just look
Well,
at it and verify it? Oh.
no, I definitely need to have a copy of it.
Why you need a copy of my ID? Now, I don't know. I had something notarized the other week, and the notary did not have to make a copy of my ID. With all this fraud going on, I don't know about this, Miss Diane.
Yeah, I'm lost here at this point.
So okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna call. All right, so I'm Mary Smith, and I'm like, I don't know. Miss Diane just hung up on me, so now I'm gonna call Miss Deborah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, because Miss Deborah has been studying, y'all. Y'all understand? She has been studying. So ring ring.
Let's remember Deborah's in the workshop today. Okay, let's go.
That's
Okay,
all right. No problem. We're all learning. So let me just put that out there. And I like to have fun. I like to laugh. I'm gonna put that out
Okay.
there. So don't don't feel any pressure. I'm not gonna have a big red X. So
Okay.
now tell me the name of your business, Miss Deborah.
For today's Deborah's Notary.
All right, Deborah's Notary. Ring ring. My name is Mary Smith. Miss this is Deborah's Notary. Okay. I have a form that I need to have notarized. So can you come out and do that for me today?
Good morning, Ms. Smith. Thank you for calling. What type of document are we signing today?
It is a form. It's from TIAA CREF. I just know that I'm getting a loan from my 401k, and it's a form that says something about spouses waiver benefits or something. So I just know it needs to be notarized.
Okay, so it sounds like you may need to, I may need to have, let me rewind. It sounds like there's going to be more than one person signing this document, you and your spouse.
I don't know. I'm not sure. So it says, I'm looking at the form. It says something about spouse's name, spouse's signature or something. And then there's some notary stuff. I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, see, I don't know where to take it from this point, but
Okay.
this is what I would say. I would say, okay, it seems from what you're reading to me that your spouse may be required to be at the signing. And then I would ask her to have ID for both her and her spouse. If she rebuts me, are you going to rebut me?
I'm not going to. Okay. So what are you asking me to do?
So I'm saying it seems from what the information she's telling me, that she and her spouse may have to be the signers, and I may need to have identification for both parties.
Sure. I can show you ID, both me and my husband, if that's required. No problem.
Okay, they may need to be present. So at this point, can I ask her to read the rules of the document to see that both of them need to be present? Or is that not required for the state of Virginia?
You could. So okay, pause with that question. I'm going to go to Miss Carrie. I'm going to let her answer this call.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm not saying what you did was right, wrong, anything.
No.
I'm not making any judgments.
No,
But
no,
let's see what Miss Carrie,
good.
because you actually had some good stuff there. Okay. All right. Okay, ring, ring. I'm calling Miss Carrie's notary service. My name is Mary Smith. My name is Mary Smith, and I have a form that needs to be notarized. Are you able to help me out with that today?
Hi, Mary. I'd love to help you. Can you tell me what type of form that you have?
It's from TIAA Craft. I work at the university. I'm getting a loan from my 401k, and it's something about spouses waiver form or something like that. And I just know it has some spaces there for information, and then it needs the notarization.
Okay, on this form, can you look and tell me if it requires your signature as well as your spouse's signature?
Oh, let me tell you, let me look. Okay, spouse's name, spouse's name. I actually don't see a place where I need to sign on this.
All right.
I don't think so.
So if it's just requiring your spouse's signature, I would need your spouse there present with a government issue ID that's not expired. And is his name on this document currently, or is it a blank document?
It's a blank document.
Okay, so he would need to sign his signature in front of me with his current ID. The same signature that's on his ID must be also signed. Is there any way for you to take a photocopy of his ID, or for him to have a photocopy when I get there?
Um, a photo. Why do you need a photocopy of his ID?
Well, I'd like to attach it to your form for submission. When you sign this and I notarize this, I'm also notarizing that I acknowledge the ID is correct and accurate and not expired. And usually these forms will require an attachment of such. Would that be possible?
I don't have a copy machine. I don't know. So now what, Miss Carrie? Just kidding.
So, Ms. Smith, would it be okay that I could take a photocopy of the ID when I arrive? And it is important that your spouse is there during this process because he will need to confirm and attest to all this.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with you taking a picture of his ID. I mean, I get it. I know you have to look at it and verify, but the whole picture piece makes me uncomfortable. I don't see anywhere on this form that it says that I have to submit his ID.
Okay, and I completely understand the hesitation, and I agree, safety is first. So when I get there, I can review everything with your spouse and confirm and look over this document. If this document does not require a photo ID attached to it, then I believe that should be fine and we don't need to take a photo ID.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel much more comfortable. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, I will see you at 3 o'clock, Miss Carrie.
That sounds good. Thank you. See you
Thank
soon.
you. All right. Bye-bye. All right.
Gosh.
And see, I know
Good job. Good job, Carrie.
all of y'all did a good job because I gave you the business
Yeah.
purposely. What would you say?
No, I said Carrie did good. She did do
She
good.
did. She did good.
I mean, well, she did an excellent job, but then she also had the benefit of having heard y'all.
Just gonna say, I also heard all of you guys too, so that helps.
Right. So this was very good. So okay, so this was a good. This is a different way of me doing this. I usually will start it from, you are going to Mary's house. You show up at the door. Okay. And then we start from there. I haven't done the whole phone call piece before, but that's very valuable because that's what people are going to do. They're going to call you and they're going to say, hey, I need this document notarized. And you all nailed the piece where you have to ask some questions first. That's key because you don't want to get out there and then you find out, oh, I can't notarize this document. So there are some key questions that you want to ask. You all nailed the part. It's like, okay, so can you tell me, okay, what will I be notarizing for you today if I'm able to come out? And sometimes they can articulate it. Sometimes they're just, I don't know, just some type of form. And they are not very helpful in that regard, right? So I would say, the one thing I would say is, you don't get too stuck on exactly what it is. but you all knew, and I told you this is a tricky form. So I think that's one reason why you kind of dug in a little deeper than typically you have to on a phone call. But you absolutely want to say, hey, what am I notarizing? And they'll say, well, it's a will for my father. Like, oh, okay. So, and your father, so he's going to be signing the will, and okay. And I will ask, because when I've done lots of wills, like, okay, so your father, and he is going to sign the will, and do you have witnesses? Look at the form. Does it require witnesses? Oh, yeah, it says we need 2 witnesses. Okay, so do you have 2 witnesses ready? Because that is a terrible thing when you go to someone's house to notarize a form, or because they'll have a packet of things, maybe a will, an advance directive, all of these. And then they're like, okay, these things require witnesses. Oh, Lord, I don't know where I can find. And then, so you want to make sure for those certain forms that you're asking whether or not witnesses are required. Okay, so you guys nailed that piece of it. Let's go now to the document itself. So we get there, and you all, Carrie, I think, nailed it. And I think by the time Deborah got to it too, she was like, okay, it's a spousal form. This is the number one mistake that's made on this particular form. The employee, the person, will be there. Mary is the person. She's the employee. She's called you, whatever. And then you get there, and she has her ID ready. And she's like, okay. And like, oh, okay. I see that this is a form for the spouse. So actually, is your spouse is the person whose signature I will be notarizing. Like, oh yeah, I guess that does make sense. Okay, so Sam, is Mr. Smith here? Sam, come here, bring your ID. So then Sam has to come and do that. And if you look very carefully, and I think you nailed it, at no place is the person's signature, the employee's signature, required on this form. So we were going down a rabbit hole about having to get Mary's signature, and we wanted to make copies and all this stuff. Mary's like, look, I don't know about all that, right? And then also we have to be very, very careful when it comes to making copies of IDs. If it's required for a particular form, if it's required for a transaction, then that's one thing. If it's not required, you don't want to really go and ask and make copies of a person's ID unless it's absolutely necessary.
Okay.
So because you don't want to have, first of all, it does not, it does kind of, sometimes it engenders some distrust because there's a lot of scamming going on. So if it's necessary, yes, because if you have to ask for it, then that's fine. Many times in loan signing transactions, and I think that is the difference. And
Yeah.
That's where you were going with this, Miss Diane.
Right.
It was the whole line. In a loan signing transaction, most of the time you have to take a picture of the ID, or it's like, can you have a picture of your ID? But for general notary work, in most circumstances, you're not making a copy or taking a picture of their ID. You're visually inspecting it and certifying it.
Okay.
So, all right, let's all right, we spent too much time on this document now. So let's go. Spouse's name. So it'll be Samuel Smith. He would sign there, and you're absolutely right, Miss Carrie. Let them know that he has to sign it in front of you, because how many times you get there and it's like, oh, I see you have already signed this document. So pause. What do you do in that case? You get there, they've already signed.
I wouldn't notarize it. If they have another document like that, he would have to start again and do it in front of me.
Okay. So You get there, they've already signed it. They don't have another copy. You say, too bad. Talk to the hand, get out of here.
Can you verify the ID again? Can you verify Sam's ID?
I can verify his ID. I can look, it looks the same.
Can he just re-sign it in front of you?
That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And that's what I have done in those types of cases. And it can get tricky. And again, this is a difference kind of with the loan signing world, because sometimes the banks are very particular and title companies about those documents and what they look like. And a double signature might not be okay. But a form like this, if it says signature, and he's already signed, I would say, hey, I'm supposed to, I'm supposed to view you signing this. I just have him sign again beside it. I don't typically no harm in it being double signed. But Miss Carrie is sending him away. She's ripping it up and shh, get out of here, Sam.
So in this case, I know you said we're spending too much time on this document, but you're saying you would ask him to sign again on the same document, but if they're not comfortable with that or the company won't accept that, can you have him sign in front of you on another piece of paper and then match that signature?
So again, state specific, right? Because in some states you can notarize a document if it wasn't signed in front of you, if you can verify and match signatures. That is something that it's a thing. Okay. And I think some notaries don't know and realize and recognize it's a thing. It is a thing. Now, it depends on your specific state and also your comfort level. Okay. For me, I would just say, oh, just to be sure, can I just get you to sign it again? That would be me. Now, in some states, it is okay, and you don't have to. And that the ladies in Texas were telling me too. You don't even have to really visually see them sign, as long as they can that they acknowledge it. They swear to the fact that they have signed this. I would just have them sign again. That would just be me. Okay. All right. So all of this is what you would fill out. And I think the bottom line with this is that be careful, because the form, and a lot of different companies have this form. Make sure you have the right person signing. And this is the first time I've had someone from Massachusetts on a training. All the trainings I've done. So here on this form right here, it says for notary in Massachusetts only. So if you're not in Massachusetts, you don't have to do this part, but you have to tell kind of the type of ID that is, you have to check that here. But everything else is for the rest of us. Okay. All right. Enough on that form. Let's go. Oh, and I already did the oath. I've already, I think Ms. Carrie has already received the oath. Now, quickly, hold on. I'm trying to figure out what's coming up next. Okay, quickly. Miss Diane, you've already done this because you're in Virginia. Miss Deborah and Miss Carrie, I want you to find on another screen or minimize us or what have you, a copy. Oh, or Carrie has it right there. Did you get those from the NNA? Yes. Okay. The sample jurat and a sample acknowledgement for your state. Okay. So Ms. Deborah, if you can, have you seen one for Maryland?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot who I was talking to. I know you have seen one because you have got it. Because I know you have seen.
No, I've seen one. You said that have I seen one? Yeah,
right.
But
right.
I would have to look through my files to find it, though.
Right. So okay, we're not going to take too much time to do this piece. Okay. But Miss Carrie, can you tell me what's the difference between, you saw the one from Virginia. Is there anything that's unique or different on the acknowledgement for Massachusetts that it's a little bit different?
I think on here, there's a section, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll try to put it up there.
Mhm.
But on the bottom here, it just says, so personally appeared, and then it says name of signature, which would be them, Jane Smith. And then it says prove to me through satisfactory evidence of identity, which was or were, and then description of evidence of identity. So on the
Okay.
bottom line, I'd have to put like driver's license or
Mhm.
something like that, passport. I think that was the only difference.
Yes, and some states do have that. That is absolutely correct. You have to tell what kind of, or personal witness or something like that. Sometimes, yeah. So very good. I'm glad that you were able to see that. And then I know, Miss Deborah, you will take a look at you've seen your acknowledgement, your jurat. So take a look at that and see kind of how it's slightly different in Maryland. All right. So let's talk about the types of notary work. Okay. General notary work. And then there's the loan signing piece. And I know some of you talked about the fact that you went through Mark Will's course, which I went through as well. Which is, well, anyway, I had a whole video about, it's a good course. You have your real estate transactions, and then you kind of have like everything else, right? So that's what we call or talk about in terms of general notary work. And once you become a notary, you can do both. You can say, I just want to do loan signings. I just want to do general notary work. It just depends on what your comfort level is. Let's talk about some related business opportunities. Some people, and in some states, when you become a notary, there are other options that open up to you. For instance, in some states, once you become a notary, it qualifies you to become a wedding officiant. Now, in Virginia, it does not, but in some states it does. And some folks really, they make that their kind of their thing. They officiate weddings. Process server. I have a friend who's like, oh, I'd love to be a process server and tell people they got to go to court. That's not my jam. I don't know how you would love to do that, but fine. But that's part of it. In some states, that's kind of, being a notary is kind of like the gateway to being a process server. And then there's a whole industry on fingerprinting. If you all watch a lot of YouTube, you've probably seen some videos about people getting into the fingerprinting business, because everybody who needs to have a background check done, etc., they have to get their fingerprints done. And some people don't really like the idea of going to the police station to get it done. They're like, no, thank you. So there's some businesses that specialize in fingerprinting, and some do the cards, the cards, and some there's an electronic fingerprinting that you can get involved with. But I understand that the equipment's pretty expensive on that front end, but that's just something else, that kind of a spinoff of the notary world. Do any of you all know any information about any of those, or have you been involved with any of these supplementary things?
I haven't been involved, but I did do the wedding officiant to add that, but I haven't done one yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I think that'd be cool. Okay. Now, in my opinion, I love general notary work. That is what I love to do. The loan signings are okay. But if you go through a signing service and they're like, they're hitting you up, they're dinging you like, hey, here's a signing in your town at 4 o'clock. Okay. Then I'm waiting for the documents to come through. Okay. And then the documents may or may not be here in time. And then I'm printing the documents, and I'm supposed to print 2 copies of the documents. So I'm killing the trees. So, and then I'm going to people's homes. And I think Diane talked about this earlier. I'm really not really a fan of spending a whole bunch of time in people's homes nowadays, especially nowadays with COVID. So I like to get general notary work. I can get in and out of there, boom. And then I that's my particular favorite. Okay. All right. Let's take a break because we've been working hard for it's over an hour now. Good gosh, time flies. All right. We're going to I said 10 minutes, so that's 13. All right, we'll do 10 minutes. So at 11, let's see, my time, we're all in the same time zone, right? Yeah. So 11:13, we will get back on it. Okay. See you
Okay.
all. All right. I'm going to turn my camera off. All right. I hope you all got refreshed. Now let's talk about more of the business aspect of being a notary and owning your own business. Okay. Let's talk about setup, business setup. Okay. And the question is kind of what is the bare minimum that you need to set up your notary business? So you've gotten your commission. So now you really want to put yourself out there. How do you do it? Like what is absolutely necessary? Okay. Question, true or false? You must register your business as an LLC before you can take clients. Is that true or is that false?
False.
False.
It is false. Correct. Now, let me tell you this. If you are like me or like some other people I know, sometimes we research ourselves to inaction. We are so busy researching, looking things up, making sure everything's perfect that we're not willing to kind of just step out there. So this is kind of one of the things that people kind of sometimes now it might be advisable for you to have an LLC. That's you can kind of get advice about business structure, but it's not absolutely necessary before you can start to be a notary. Let's talk about some startup supplies. First of all, pens, pens, pens. So I told you all I've been in education for 25 years. So y'all, I just have buckets of writing utensils just all around. For normal people, you might not have lots of writing utensils.
No, see ya.
You come on now. That's what I'm talking about. And so you will learn which pens you like, which pens are great pens. And in the COVID environment, if you're out at people's homes, which pens you will let someone just use and just go ahead and keep. So those are all things you think about when it comes to pens. Almost never have too many pens. Business cards. This is something that I like to give a trick. I like to print my own business cards because I don't want, because you can waste a lot of money by getting these kind of cheap cards. And the cards are nice, but they're inexpensive. But you go to some place like Vistaprint, which I have boxes and boxes of cards from Vistaprint for a variety of different things. And it's nice, it's all good, but something changes on your in your business model, something changes, something kind of just something kind of tweaks, and then it's obsolete, right? So what I do is I print my own business cards. I want to show you the thing, and I will pull it out. Oh, it's right over here. Lord, my whole situation's about to go down. Ugh. Here we go. This is a lifesaver. It's from Avery. Get it from any office store, or it's 2022, so get it from Amazon. Okay. And I print very, very nice business cards because at some point I thought, I don't want to have a business card. Oh, hold on. Let me just change my situation here. I don't want business cards that look, as we would say back in the day, janky, right? I don't want business cards that don't look professional. They don't look, they don't look polished. I print very nice business cards with that. And at some point I'll show you what they look like when I find them. So business cards, important. All right, next, a notary bag. You want to have a nice notary bag because you always want to be ready at the drop of a hat. When someone says, hey, I need a notary, boom, grab that bag, have all your essential supplies. Journal. We talked about the whole journal thing. It's advisable for everyone to have a journal, but not legally required in every state. And stamp. You must have a notary stamp. Now, I ordered almost everything that I have talked to you about, I ordered from Amazon, because that's the times, those are the times we're living in, and including my stamp. So you tell them the state, you get and you have everything that you need. Okay. Now, here's what I want to show you. This is my favorite tool of them all. Can you all see this?
Mhm.
This is a clipboard that also holds things, right? It's legal size. Okay. I've got some copies of some acknowledgements in here. I've got some jurats in here in case people want me to acknowledge things and they don't have the proper thing. Here's some of my old business cards, like when I was going and I was not printing my own cards. Again, I have boxes of these from Notarize, no, I'm not notarized, from Vistaprint, but things have changed a little bit. So I'm like, ah. So this also came from Amazon. Now, the only thing that I regret with this is that it is not thick enough to hold my stamp. If it was, oh my goodness, this would be kind of a one-stop shop, but I love that. And I recommend having something like that type of clipboard, some type of clipboard, because I go to hospitals, nursing homes, and that sort of thing a lot. Even in people's homes, sometimes if you have people who are not very ambulatory, having that there is very helpful. And it's metal, so it doesn't pick up on a lot of germs, etc. So, all right. Let's talk about identifying the perfect market. So y'all have these commissions and you want to figure out what to do with it. How are you going to make money? The first step is to figure out whether or not you want to be a general notary work, generalist or specialist, right? So when I say generalist, that means that you are notarizing all sorts of documents that come through. Okay. Or you could also kind of specialize and have a specific niche. So one of my mastermind students is a nurse. She is a nurse. She's a nurse full time. And so because she used the fact that she's a nurse, she's in the hospital anyway. So getting exposed to all of those, the risk and danger. So she is marketing herself as the notary nurse, and she specializes going into hospitals and nursing facilities, right? You can market yourself as tow yards. Some people like, hey, I've got a tow yard close to where I live. And sometimes people need a notarized letter. Let's say that they're unable to go and pick up their car, but they need to let their brother go pick it up. So you go to them and you notarize the document. Then the brother takes that notarized letter. Sometimes tow places, these places can advertise for you. They can give your cards out. Okay. So you could be their preferred notary. Oh, estate planning attorneys. Now, when we talk about general notary work, really and truly, we're talking about wills, powers of attorneys, advanced directives. Those are the types of things that people specialize in and make a lot of money with. Now, you can partner with specific estate planning attorneys. There's one attorney who I was like her go-to notary for a while. It was like the beginning part of the pandemic. She was working from home and she was doing all of her signings and stuff at home. So I would come to her house. She'd have like a table outside and she'd have everything set up. Her clients would come. I would look at their IDs. I would be the notary. And it was great because people weren't asking me questions because, we cannot practice law. We can't really answer the questions, but the attorney could. She could answer the questions, etc. So that's also something you can think about if you want to reach out to an attorney and kind of try to be their preferred notary. Car dealerships as well. Now, again, with all of these places, they may have notaries that are there or on staff or that sort of thing, but everybody takes a day off. Everybody gets sick. So sometimes they need someone to pinch hit for them, or they need someone, if you're willing to be more of a mobile notary, if you go out to people's homes, then you can add that layer of convenience for folks. So that's something to think about as well. Car dealerships. When I do the online notarization, Carvana, I notarize so many of those powers of attorney for Carvana. So different businesses need notaries and things you don't even think about until later on. You're like, oh, I'm a notary. And then you start to look at things in a different way. Okay. Any questions about that? Those places? Okay, very good. Let's talk about pricing. Okay. So first of all, as you all know, the each state has kind of the regulations on how much they can charge. Yeah, and I'm sorry, Maryland stinks. Maryland and North Carolina, I'm like, oh, why? I just, it's terrible. So, but we're going to talk about within the confines of your state law, how much do you charge, right? One thing I want people to know is that pricing is psychological, okay? You have to target your feel-good price. What does that mean? That means, okay, I'm gonna go back. That means you have to charge the amount of money that doesn't feel too high or too low for you. Let me give you an example. In Virginia, we can charge $5 per signature, right? And the loss is we can charge travel fee. That's cool. Different people have pricing structures that vary. I'm in the DMV area. So I am, the District, Maryland, Virginia. There's a lot of traffic here. Okay. So some people will charge $25 to come out. So that's, I guess, $5 for the notarization and $20 to travel. In some situations, that makes sense. In most situations, in my eyes, that doesn't make sense. To me, that's too low. Okay. Because it depends on where the person is, how far away they are, what time of day, all of those things. So what I've done for me and my structure is I charge $40, which is $35 travel fee, $5 for each stamp. Okay. That's how I charge, right? Some people do things like they charge by the mile. Okay. They charge by the mile. Some people charge more for wills, advanced directives, because those are very, very important documents. And some people charge they're going to charge at least $100 to come out and to notarize those documents. And that's what they do. And they must feel fine with that. For me, once I'm there, okay, and I'll stamp 17 times, just 17 times 5 once I'm there. So you have to work with what feels good to you. You don't want to feel like, man, this was really not worth it. And at the price at $40, sometimes I get to a place I'm like, oh, I should not have accepted this job. It was way too far, or traffic was bad, things I didn't anticipate, right? Excuse me. So you want to feel like you're charging enough to cover your expenses. Now, gas is up. Since I started giving these workshops a year ago, gas is up at least $1. per gallon, right?
Mhm.
So that's something to factor in. So you just want to kind of get to a price structure that feels good and natural to you. Okay. That's when I say pricing is psychological. And story, I've already told enough stories. Um, Sometimes when it comes to pricing, here's some upsells to consider. Sometimes people will say with general notary work, I've got a document. Can I email it to you? And can you print it and bring it with you? Sure. Okay. But it's going to be an additional $10 for that. Okay. So for me, all my upsells are like, if I'm going to charge an upsell, it's like $10. Because again, I can't take this kind of complicated structure and all these. I don't need to have a formula to figure out how much you owe, right? Dropping off. Hey, can you drop this off at UPS or FedEx? 10, and I charge an extra $10 for each. Okay. Scanning. Can you scan this? Oh, I've got this document. And even though it's not a loan signing, it's not all that. No, can you scan this back to this company? It has to be there. Sure. Okay. Some people charge more for same day service. Like if you call me today and you want me to notarize something today, sometimes people charge more for that. Sometimes people charge more for, like, it's $35 within this radius. Outside of this radius, it's an additional X amount of money. So all of this is kind of what you have to consider when you're setting your business up, when you're thinking about how you want to charge. And you have to come up with something that makes sense to you and feels good to you and that you will feel comfortable citing. Because I will tell you, when people call me and they say, well, how much is it? I'm saying, well, it starts at 40, blah, blah, blah. $40. Oh, Lord. And okay, they're not my customer. They're not my customer. I can tell you several times where people I've come out and they will give me a tip because they're like, I can't believe you came out and you did this for me. Here's an extra, there was one time where the notarization was about $80. It was like a lot of stamping, whatever. So it gave me 100 and was like, just keep the change, whatever. I was like, okay, thank you. And then I left. So it just depends, because this is kind of like I don't say a luxury service. The mobile notary part kind of is, because can you go to the bank and get it done? Probably, if the bank's notary is there, if they will notarize that particular document, if you don't mind going out there and standing in line. Okay. So those are all things I want you to kind of think about when it comes to pricing, because sometimes people have a real tough time with the whole, I don't know. People can get it done free at the bank or for $5 at UPS. They can. Okay. So that's what I want to talk to you about when it comes to pricing. What questions do you have about pricing?
I have I don't know if it's about pricing directly, but it's like, how do you get your money? Because I have yet to find somebody to say how they get paid. Do you just trust a client? Do you have to have one of those cash apps on your phone? How do you get your money?
So this is a beautiful question. I love this, because this is called a business. We're not volunteering. So we want to make sure we get paid. I tell people when people call me, that's one thing that I also talk about. If they don't bring up price or whatever, I make sure before we get off the phone, hey, the price starts at 40, in case they just think it's $5 or whatever. It starts at 40, and I've got a lot of ways in which you can pay me. I do have Cash App. I've got Venmo. I've got Square. And Square is where you can process credit card transactions. Okay. I've got Zelle. I never use that, but Zelle, you can pay me. PayPal. You're not going to have a lack of ways to give me money. So I take cash. And then through Square, if you have the Square app on your phone, or if you can also send them a receipt if they give you cash as well. Okay.
Mhm.
So I take money, and no, the only thing I don't take are checks.
Right. So you said Cash App, Venmo, Square app. So for Square app, that's, you say it takes credit card payment, that's the same as a debit card? Take the debit card as well?
Yes.
So these are things, okay, so there's nothing, okay, so do you have to pay to set up for PayPal? Do you have to pay the notary themselves for a PayPal account?
No, there's a fee for every time. So let's say when I have money in my PayPal account and I want to transfer it to my bank account, then that's how they get paid. There's a fee, like a 1% fee for me to transfer that money from my PayPal account to my business checking account. But there's not a like a $99 setup fee for these things.
Okay.
Mm-mm. So those are things that
Uh,
think about.
So
Yes.
I have a question. So how do you feel, since you've been doing the general notary work way before, the Ron has come about,
Mhm.
how is it affecting your general mobile notary business now? Do you still prefer to go out to the homes to do the general notary, or would you prefer to just take those clients and then do it as a Ron?
So yes, I understand. I like to do both. There's something about going out and doing general notary work and going to somebody's house and being done in 6 minutes and them handing you $40, or like, Venmoing you
Mhm.
40. I was like, I love that. I like that. And plus,
Mm.
even though with the COVID times, there's certain things that are different than before time, before days. Like, sometimes I do a lot more signings in garages or on porches when it's warm and those types of things. So that's fine. Uh, so, and then that's the thing I like. That's one reason I like general notary work more than loan signings. It's just less time face to face in people's homes and spaces. But I also like the Ron now because I can be here and I can take a couple of calls. I do all of my Ron work through Notarize. I can take some calls and then I can pause and then I can go wash the dishes and then come back and I'm like, okay, now I'm back. Welcome to Notarize. My name is Sia Knight, that sort of thing. So the flexibility that Carrie talked about, working from home and that sort of thing, I love that too. Now, I've gotten to a point in Notarize where I do real estate transactions for them. And so that to me is the best of both worlds. It's not that I hate the real estate transactions, like being a loan signing agent. I just hated the whole process of it. Being able to sit at home and do it, oh, that's good.
That's
like
what I want to get to, but it's just seem like there's so many hidden secrets or rabbit holes that people don't talk about. You have to have X amount of experience, you have to have X amount of insurance, you have to have yapa, pa. So that's the discouraging part for me. And then when you have to comply by the state of Maryland's charging things. So with loan signing for the state of Maryland, you pretty much can make some money.
Right.
But as far as general notary work, they're a stickler for that. So I don't know. I'm trying to stay encouraged in this whole process because I don't know. Eventually I want to do Ron, period. But then it's about the platforms. You gotta know the platforms. There's a fee for the platforms, papa.
Yes. So if Notarize comes to Maryland, which is the company, it's like the granddaddy, it's like the Microsoft of the Ron companies. And it has its problems too. I'm just put that out there. I'm not like, Notarize as a company is not perfect. right? But they've been doing it the longest. They have the most resources. So if it ever comes to Maryland, which I don't know if it's in Maryland yet, but then I like that in between working as an independent contractor for a company like a Notarize, then you can kind of I've got at least 1,700 transactions under my belt as a Ron. Then if at some point, I haven't made it here yet, but if at some point I want to go on and have my own clients come to me through Ron, then I definitely would have the experience with it, right? So I think it is tough. It would be tough, I think, to wrap my mind around jumping out here as a Ron with limited experience and not knowing the platforms are each one's a little different, right? And a little persnickety, but it is possible. So let me, I'm going to say this. I don't want you to get discouraged now, Ms. Deborah. Don't get discouraged. Okay. But I will say, I did tell somebody, it's like, I won't be moving to Maryland because the rules for Ron are just, and for our notaries are just kind of,
yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am discouraged. I'm trying to keep myself from going down that route because I've invested too much of my time and money.
mm-hmm.
But I was going to ask you a question about reciprocity. I mean, I'm like a blink in the eye from Virginia, but I think when I went online to apply for notary in Virginia, I didn't see anything about reciprocity. But they had questions like how much business or I do business in Virginia. I don't do business in Virginia. I'm trying to get business in Virginia, but so what about that?
I think so. And again, everything's state specific, right? I think with Virginia, because we're in this area, the DMV area, sometimes people live in DC, but work in Maryland, work here and live there. If you lived in Maryland and maybe had a job in Virginia, then that might have kind of opened the door. But I'm not 100% sure about that. Well, I'm sure about that piece, but I don't know if there's like no other way that you can get a commission in Virginia. Some states are more open than others. But that would be something to look into because Virginia is definitely more friendly when it comes to being a notary.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Any other questions? Diane, did you have a question?
So do you think, being that Ron is coming out in Virginia, do you think like when you're charging your up fees and stuff, is that affecting your mobile notary at all? Or it's really not matter? People want the convenience, so you're able to do the both.
So I will say, now I have to, if I'm being totally honest, which I make a habit of doing that, my mobile notary business has not been popping like it had been 6 months ago, right? I don't get as many calls and that sort of thing. So I think part of it, there's a couple of reasons for that. Part of it was I did some work through a company called Thumbtack, which we'll talk about. Oh Lord, we're running out of time. Well, we'll talk a little about Thumbtack. And again, during the pandemic, again, people were not leaving their houses. They were like, please come out and do this stuff. And there's still certain situations where that makes sense. Again, a lot of elderly people I help, people who are in hospital, in nursing homes, etc. And somebody was like, I've shattered my leg. I can't go anywhere. I'm like, okay, well, you just roll to that door and I'll be there and they'll be able to help you. Then, those are the types of things that mobile notary work is there's still a market for it. I think if I were to do more advertising, I would probably be, but I'm just the right amount of busy. So it's okay for me. But I think, I don't think Ron is taking over.
Yeah. How do we advertise? I mean.
Oh, good question. Let's talk about successful marketing. So y'all name a way that you can market your notary business. Go.
on Google.
Mhm,
Somebody,
I know
somebody said Google.
mhm.
Yeah, someone said to set up, make sure you always set up a business Google page.
That is so true.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's talk about it. Google Business. I put this first for a reason. If somebody wants to find a notary, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to Google it, right? Google's it's a verb now. You Google something, right? So Google Business page is the very first thing that you're going to do just to make sure that people can find you, because what's the notary near me? You know what, those are the types of terms that people use. So you have to make sure you have a Google Business page. There's something called the Nextdoor app. Is anybody here on Nextdoor?
I don't
Okay.
even know what that is.
Okay, so it's an app for nosy people like us, like me. So I'll put me. So it is an app where it's very neighborhood specific, and a lot of people are asking questions like, "Hey, does anybody know of a good chiropractor in this area?" Or there's like, "Did somebody hear gunshots last night?" So those are so it's like a community forum. For a particular neighborhood or a particular area. So there are lots of times people are asking for, hey, does anybody know of, a notary? And then they can be recommended. So you can also advertise on Nextdoor, even though I went through a advertising campaign. Wasn't that successful? What's more successful is if you get other people to kind of mention you on the Nextdoor app. That's a good way to get kind of real local business. Okay. Yelp, which I thought was just for food. Like people but no, you can set up a free all this is free, except for the Nextdoor like ads, right? I'm talking about free stuff at this point. The Yelp, you can set up a Yelp business profile. And UPS and FedEx, which you're like, hey, aren't they competitors? Don't they do notarizations? But sometimes, for whatever reason, the notary is out, the notary won't do a particular type of form or whatever. Sometimes when I go to the FedEx, it used to be FedEx specifically, and when I used to go and do loan signings still and just dropping off stuff all the time, like, hey, I'm a mobile notary. If anybody comes in and says they want somebody to come to their house, here, you can give them my card. So that's fine. And speaking of Thumbtack, I have a love-hate relationship with Thumbtack. I don't even know if I would recommend going to Thumbtack now, but it's a website. You pay for leads. You pay for people. So people would go on Thumbtack and say, I'm looking for a notary. And then you're supposed to like bid, like you're supposed to kind of send a proposal to the person. Like, here's how much I charge, right? Some of the problems with Thumbtack, if you want somebody real cheap, I'm not the person for you. So like some people get on Thumbtack and they're charging like like $20, $15 for me to come out. And I'm like, I don't know how y'all doing that. Y'all could go ahead and have that, because I can't, and I won't compete with that, right? So that's Thumbtack. So, but take it or leave it. Post office. There have been times where, okay, let's go back. Let's go to this one that says your car. I've got a car magnet. If I'm going to certain places, I slap that thing on the side of my car, and I will make sure that it is prominent when I'm going to UPS, when I'm going to FedEx, when I'm going to other places. I will put that on the side of my car, because I know sometimes those are places where people are looking for notaries, right? So there's an example at the post office. I was in line at the post office, minding my business. I heard a few people ahead of me say, oh, do you guys have a notary? Then post office was like, nope, we don't have a notary. It's like, okay. And excuse me, I'm a notary. And they were like, oh, are you? I said, I said, let me just drop this off and I'll help y'all. And what happened was I had my stamp in the car, came back into the post office. We got a little table area, and it was a separation agreement. So again, they were very eager to get that done. They really wanted to go ahead and get that taken care of. So whatever. And that's another reason why you want to make sure it's easy for people to pay you right there on the spot. I don't know, I Venmo'd me, they gave me money somehow, and I was able to notarize it somehow. I always have my stamp in my car. I've got 2 stamps, and I always have one in my car just in case. Okay. And then you could do paid ads, which again, for me, I think I'm right at the point, the amount of business I need right now. So I'm not going to do paid ads for notary work, but that's something that some people have success with. All right. Next, becoming a remote online notary. All of this, again, it's tough to say because everything is so state specific. Let's say it with me, so state specific. But you need to check your Secretary of State website where you went to get your initial commission to find out how to add an e-notary commission. In Virginia, it cost $45 for me to get my my electronic commission. Then check and see what companies are available in your state to see whether or not notarize. Again, the big daddy, granddaddy is notarize, right? If notarize is in your state, fine, I suggest them. If not, see what other companies are available that will give you work. Now, they pay a low rate per call, but if you get the volume of calls, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Okay. You have to get a digital certificate, and you got to get a digital stamp in order to become a RON. So it's a whole process that can be tricky, and things change all the time. That's the thing with technology. Things change so fast. So that's one reason why I kind of give general information about the steps to become a RON, because even like during the pandemic, things have changed in terms of kind of what's required and what different companies want you to do. Okay. All right. So there are 2 types of RON partnerships. The clients are provided, like notarize. And then the second one is like you can bring your own clients. And I haven't gone this route yet, because typically there is a fee associated. There's like a monthly fee and then a fee per transaction. But you get to keep more of the money that you charge, because these are your clients. So they'll reach out to you and say, hey, Miss Carrie, I'd like to have these documents notarized. You're like, sure. Here's the link. You go to a website like Live Notary. They meet you there. They upload the document. Then you electronically notarize it. Okay. Then they pay you through the platform. So it depends. If you are able to get your own clients and bring them over, it's quite possible. And I know people are making decent money doing that. Now, I work with Notarize, and the clients are provided. It's more like kind of a call system, like, like you sit down, like you wait for I have several screens, right? So I'm waiting, I'm looking at YouTube, I'm scrolling and I'm seeing what else is going on, watching This Is Us or whatever. And then I have Notarize here on the screen, and then ring, ring, ring. Okay. And then I'll try to catch the call. And if I catch the call, welcome to Notarize. My name is Cia Knight. I'm a commissioned electronic notary in Virginia. Before we get started, I need to let you know that today's session will be recorded. Is that all right with you? And I go into my spiel, right? So it just depends on kind of how you'd like to kind of move through that RON piece. Okay. So I've talked a lot. I want to be able to answer. I'll let y'all ask the questions. Talk to me about what questions you have overall, generally speaking.
Carrie raised her hand.
Go. Oh, yes. Yes,
Thank
Carrie.
you. So on the form earlier on that client that needed, the spousal signature, that form. So if they present a form of any kind and it just says to notarize in that form, we don't have to attach anything. But if they have a piece of paper that they and somebody else wrote, like, like a contract between two people, when do I know when to attach the affidavit or the jurat or the acknowledgement? Do I have to attach it to something as well on some types of forms, right?
Okay, so that's a great question. So here's the answer. If you look on a form, someone has a form, okay, and if the notarial language is inadequate, meaning it doesn't have everything that your state requires, you have a couple of options. You can add whatever your state requires. So my state requires that I put my commission expires, blah, blah, blah. If that's not on a form that someone hands me, I'd have to write it in. Okay. And if there's a lot of stuff that's missing, you're like, this is going to get messy. So what I would do is say, see attached certificate. Then I would attach that loose leaf. Okay. So then that's how you decide. Okay.
Okay, I have a question regarding the run.
Yes.
Do you have to be tech savvy? Or is it training or what? Everything I'm doing seems like it's a fee attached. And while I understand that, that's okay. But it's like, really, I'm putting out more than I will ever receive back.
Maybe in Maryland. Yeah. So
yeah.
Here's the thing. Do you have to be tech savvy? To a certain point. If you were able to get on this call, you're able to do wrong.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? So there are some people who could not, they're like, I can't, my dad, he's like, I can't get on no Zoom call. What you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. So that's one thing, right? So he might not be a good candidate to become a remote online notary. But if you got on this call, we're able to interact, you should be able to be fine when it comes to doing a remote online notarization. Now, of course, there's certain little things with each platform that you'd have to learn, right? But it's not unlearnable. And I mean, I like I said, in my mastermind last time, I had some ladies who, are not millennials or not Gen Yers. They were mature like myself. And so we were able to, and even more mature. So we were able to kind of move through the platform. That's fine. Is there training? I will tell you, some people complain about the notarized level of training and with notarized specifically, the company has grown so fast. If you can imagine during the pandemic, and the volume is just so great that sometimes you just have to kind of go out and find your tribe and find your group and ask people questions. Like they do have a Facebook group now, which is good. Even if you don't really own Facebook like that, if you just go in there to listen to people who ask questions and get their questions answered, that's very, very helpful. That's one thing I will say, and I'm gonna do a video about this soon. It's like, as a notary, find a group, find a tribe, find people to bounce information off of, because what happens is people get isolated, they get discouraged, they get confused, all of that happens. So I would say try to make sure that you can plug in to at least, I would say a group is great, but some other people, and again, the Facebook groups are pretty good. Now, sometimes people get kind of mean and in the Facebook group, so you have to be careful, but generally speaking, it's a good place to get information.
Okay.
So I have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Yes, Miss Diane.
So the different forms, like the one that you shared in the training, where can we get like some blank forms of the different things that we might notarize on the notarized platform or anywhere that I could like just print off and just practice on, just so I could see it first and then, you know, I'll feel more comfortable when I'm on the platform.
What's so funny, Miss Deborah?
I know she can get it, but she's gonna have to pay for it.
No, no.
It's a fee to me for everything. But anyway, what's the answer, Sia?
The answer is, so the answer is once you plug into the process to get certified with Notarize, they provide some of those things. Okay.
Yeah, because I haven't seen, they haven't given me anything. Where do I go to get that stuff?
Like what specifically? I might be able to help you out with a couple of things. So like there's a form called, from the US Postal Service, form 1583. I do that like 90% of the time. That's the form I do, right? So you could get a copy of that and be able to take a look at it and get familiar with it. That's also one you might do in person too, ladies, as well. And that's nationwide. It's for a virtual mailbox. So that's one of the holes in the system with Notarize. People kind of complain about the specificity of the training, and to say, hey, there's very specific things that people want to know and everything, but they are not up to speed yet to getting everything to everyone. So if you have a specific question about a specific form, email me. So are you signed up with Notarize?
Yes, I am.
You're signed. Okay. Have you done any training with them yet?
Well, I've done the training. I went through the onboarding. I've done all of that. It's just, I'm just so nervous. You know, forms, it's like, that's what's stopping me is the forms. I'm like scared to, like, I get a form and I don't know what to do with it.
Okay.
No, that's a good question with Diane. Since it's a good point. It's like, I might be okay with it, and yeah, I know you have to look at the forms to read the specific notarial language, but not knowing sometimes it's like, okay, I don't want to look like I'm not ready, I'm not informed, that kind of thing.
So here's what you say, because that happens, because every form's different, and you'd be surprised, like, what in the world were these people thinking of when they made up this form, and why did they try to make it as confusing as possible? So what I say is, I say, okay, so this is interesting. I've never seen the language like this before. Give me a second. Let me take a look. You don't have to say, hey, I'm brand new, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
We all were brand new at one point. And this is probably what I used my first, like, okay, I don't think I've seen this before. Let me take a look. I want to make sure that this is absolutely right. So I want to prevent any problems. I don't want to have to come back, for this form to come back. So let me take another look, that sort of thing. Phone a friend. In the Facebook groups, you'd be surprised how many times people will take a picture of the form. Now they'll take all the identifying information out. They're like, what goes in this space? People on Facebook were like, this is where the county goes, or this is where the such and such goes. So don't feel like you have to know every single thing. They want you to do a great job. They want you to be excellent because they don't want the forms to come back. So we have to do that. But perfection is a goal, but no one's perfect, right? So I'd say, Diane, to me, there's you need some role play and some practice. That's what I would say for you. And just do it. And you just got to get in there. That's it. When it comes to Notarize. Okay. I have taken you guys over the time period. I've kidnapped you for over the allotted time, but I want to make sure if you have any questions, you can ask. And I hopefully this has been beneficial to you, and that you've learned and you've gained something from the training. The one thing I want to try to do is I want to try to make it interactive, because I could talk the whole time. Nobody wants to hear that. And I also want to make sure that it's practical, and there's some practical application to some of the things that we did during the training as well. Any other questions that you all have?
This is Carrie. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say I appreciate the way that you taught today because I am a hands-on learner. So I need to do and not just watch and listen. So I'm thankful that you included, question and answer, but also like examples like pretend role play and that kind of thing. So that was
Good.
very beneficial. So I appreciate that learning style better. So thank you.
Good. Oh, good. I'm glad. Because to me, that's the difference between me just doing a video and then saying, hey, here's the class. But
Mhm.
that's not the same as getting in there and making Diane a little bit uncomfortable and saying, well, I don't know. So, and sometimes I worry about that, right? Because I'm like, I don't want people to think that I'm just trying to out to get them. But, I do want you to learn and to kind of be able to think fast because sometimes you will have to. So
Mhm.
very
So
good.
thank you.
All right, ladies, I am going to send out later on a link to this video, to this training. So you'll be able to review it again if you would like. Along with that will be a survey, an evaluation for the workshop, and you can be brutally honest about what worked for you, what didn't work for you, etc. And if all hearts and minds are clear, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.